There will never be a perfect time. You're sitting there thinking one day you'll wake up and everything will be lined up just right. But life doesn't work like that. Success doesn't knock when it's convenient. It shows up when you step up. People miss out on their dreams not because they aren't capable, but because they waited too long to start. You want the job? Apply now. You want to start that business? Start now. You want to change your life? Do it now. Stop putting off your destiny waiting for some magical sign. You are the sign. The fact that it burns in your heart, that's the only green light you need. There will never be a perfect time. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. But it's the truth that sets people free. We live in a world that convinces us to wait. Wait until you've got more money, more knowledge, more confidence, more support. But here's the problem: that perfect combination never shows up. Life isn't built on waiting rooms. It's built on risk, on leaps of faith, on messy starts. Some of the most successful people in this world didn't start when it made sense. They started when it didn't. They started when it was risky, uncertain, and even foolish in the eyes of others. And that's the very reason they won. The delay we often create by waiting for perfection becomes a prison. We think we're being wise, cautious, preparing more. But what we're really doing is hiding. We're scared to fail, scared to start, scared to be judged. So we dress that fear up in the disguise of, I'm just not ready yet. But if not now, then when? The world doesn't pause for your readiness. Opportunities don't wait around for you to build the perfect moment. They come and they go. And when you keep pushing everything to, someday, you'll find yourself waking up one day surrounded by regret. Because you never took that step. You never made that call. You never opened that business, never started writing that book, never asked that question, never tried. And you'll wish you had. You don't need to have it all figured out to begin. You need the courage to say, I'm scared, but I'm doing it anyway. That's how the door opens. That's how your life begins to change. Nobody wakes up with all the tools in their hand. They find them along the way. Life rewards action, not hesitation. Every day you wait, someone else out there with less talent, less experience, less knowledge, but more courage is taking your spot. They're showing up scared. They're making mistakes. They're learning, growing, failing, and getting up. That's how they win. Not because they're better, but because they stopped waiting. You don't need perfect timing. You need movement. You need fire in your soul and enough belief to take the first step. That's where everything starts. That one decision to begin, to stop asking for permission from life and just say yes. You want change. Stop waiting. You want more. Stop waiting. You want the life you see in your dreams. Stop waiting. The longer you hesitate, the louder your excuses become. And if you're not careful, those excuses will bury your potential. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. That's all it takes. Perfection is a lie. But progress, that's real. That's powerful. That's what builds legacy. So don't wait for life to hand you the perfect moment. Make this moment the one that changes everything. You've waited long enough. Now it's time to move. The fear of failure is the silent killer of more dreams than actual failure ever could be. We spend so much time overthinking the worst case scenarios that we talk ourselves out of even trying. We look at the journey ahead, and all we can see are the obstacles, the what ifs, the moments where things might go wrong. But what if just once we stopped asking, what if I fail? And started asking, what if I fly? That shift in thinking changes everything. Fear will never go away. It walks beside every dreamer, every visionary, every person bold enough to chase something bigger than themselves. But fear should be a companion, not a commander. It should ride in the passenger seat, not take the wheel. You don't conquer fear by running from it. You conquer it by walking straight through it, step by step, choice by choice. Every great story of success is filled with chapters of fear. The people you admire, the ones who've made it, they were scared too. They were broke, unsure, doubted, and even laughed at. But they kept moving. They failed, yes. But failure wasn't the end. It was the education. And that's what you've got to understand. Failure isn't fatal, it's foundational. It teaches you what works and what doesn't. It builds resilience, sharpens your vision, and makes you hungry. Some of your best lessons will come wrapped in moments of defeat. But they will make you better, not bitter, if you let them. The problem is we've been taught that failure is something to be ashamed of. From an early age, we're told to avoid mistakes at all costs. But mistakes are how you grow. They're how you figure out what you're truly made of. There's nothing shameful about trying and falling. What's shameful is never trying at all, because you were too scared of how it might look, too scared of being laughed at, too scared of not being good enough. But you are good enough, right now, just as you are. You don't need permission to pursue your purpose. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need one thing: belief in yourself strong enough to silence the doubts. Take the leap, chase the dream, start the thing, make the move. Not because you're fearless, but because your vision is bigger than your fear. When fear becomes fuel instead of a fence, that's when you become dangerous. That's when life starts opening doors. Not because it's easy, but because you finally decided that the pain of regret would hurt more than the pain of failure. And that's the truth most people avoid. You were not created to live small, scared, and safe. You were created to grow, to stretch, to chase things that light your soul on fire. And yes, that journey will be scary, but fear doesn't get to decide your future. You do. And when you stop letting fear have the final word, you'll step into a life you never thought possible. A life where you're proud of the person you see in the mirror. Not because they didn't fall, but because they never stayed down. Waiting for the perfect time is the greatest excuse ever invented. It sounds smart. It feels responsible. You tell yourself you're being cautious, strategic, or patient. But in reality, most of the time, you're just stalling. You're holding back because you don't want to feel uncomfortable. You want the path to be cleared, the risk to disappear, and the result to be guaranteed before you even begin. But life doesn't work that way. There is no perfect moment. There's just now and the decision to move forward anyway. Too many people spend years preparing, planning, overthinking, and procrastinating. They build up dreams in their hearts, but those dreams collect dust because they never get acted on. And what's crazy is people will wait for the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect financial condition, the perfect motivation, all in hopes that someday all the stars will align. But someday never comes. Life doesn't reward people who wait forever. Life rewards people who move, even when it's messy, even when it's scary, even when nothing feels perfect at all. Think about it, every single thing that's changed your life probably didn't happen at the right time. You weren't fully ready. You didn't have all the answers. But something in you said go. And when you did, doors opened that you never even saw before. That's the way momentum works. It doesn't come from waiting, it comes from moving. And sometimes, when you move first, clarity follows. Confidence comes after action, not before it. So if you're waiting to feel 100% ready, you'll be waiting forever. Success isn't about waiting until conditions are perfect. It's about learning how to move with what you've got trusting that as you go, you'll grow. People who win don't win because they were born lucky. They win because they made decisions in the dark. They moved when it was uncomfortable. They stepped when it didn't make sense. And because they moved, they learned. They failed. They adjusted. They figured it out on the way. And while others stood on the sidelines, waiting for their moment, these people made their moment. The truth is, there will always be reasons not to start. You'll always find something that could be better, more secure, more ideal. But progress doesn't live in perfection. It lives in motion. A half-developed plan executed today is worth more than the perfect plan you never launch. Don't let perfection become your prison, because that dream you're holding, that idea you've got buried deep, it's not going to magically make itself real. It needs you. It needs your imperfect, scared, unsure self to bring it to life. That's the secret no one tells you. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be bold enough to begin. Your next chapter starts the moment you stop stalling. The moment you stop praying for signs and start becoming the sign. The moment you decide that done is better than perfect. Because let's be honest, what are you really waiting for? Permission, approval, a voice from the clouds saying, go now. You are that voice. You've got everything you need inside you already. Stop waiting for the perfect time. The time is now. One of the hardest truths to swallow is that fear is always going to show up when you're about to do something meaningful. The moment you step out of your comfort zone, fear steps in. It starts whispering all kinds of lies in your ear. What if you fail? What will people think? What if you're not good enough? And the crazy part is many people let that voice win. They let fear sit in the driver's seat, and their dreams get locked in the trunk. But here's the truth. You don't have to get rid of fear to move forward. You just have to stop letting it make your decisions. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal. It's telling you you're standing on the edge of growth. Every dream you have will require a version of you that's bolder than the one you are today. That boldness is going to come with risk, uncertainty, and discomfort. And when fear shows up, it's not a reason to back away. It's confirmation that you're on the right track. Because nobody feels fear doing the same old thing. You only feel it when you're about to step into something greater. You've got to stop waiting to feel brave before you move. Bravery doesn't show up in the waiting room. It shows up in the action. You become courageous by doing, not by overthinking. You don't overcome fear by sitting with it. You overcome it by walking through it. And once you take that step, once you realize you survived what scared you, you begin to trust yourself more. You start to understand that fear doesn't own you. You own your response to it. The problem isn't fear itself. The problem is giving fear too much power. You've got to shrink that voice down to size. Remind yourself of all the times you were afraid and did it anyway. Think back to the situations you thought would break you, but instead they built you. Fear didn't stop you then, and it doesn't get to stop you now. You're stronger than you give yourself credit for. And sometimes you don't find out how strong you are until you're staring fear in the face and choosing to move anyway. People let fear rob them of too many moments, too many opportunities, too many relationships, careers, passions, and dreams are buried because someone let fear make the call. You've got to flip that script. You've got to say, I see you, fear, but I'm not bowing to you today. You don't have to eliminate fear to win. You just have to be willing to walk forward with it in your back pocket, not in your hands. Think of all the people who inspire you. Every one of them felt fear. Every one of them had doubts, but they pushed through it They took the leap. And because they did, we remember them. They created something lasting, not because they were fearless, but because they had the courage to act in spite of fear. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. So today, when fear knocks, open the door, but don't invite it in. Let it know you're still moving forward. Even if your hands are shaking, you've got places to go. You've got people to impact. You've got a future that's too bright to be dimmed by fear. Don't let that voice be louder than your vision. Choose courage over comfort. Move even when your legs tremble. Because on the other side of that fear is the life you were born to live. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they need to have it all figured out before they start. They believe the stars need to align, the plan needs to be perfect, the money needs to be right, the timing needs to be ideal. Then they'll begin. But that mindset will leave you sitting on the sidelines your entire life. Because here's the truth, there will never be a perfect time. Life doesn't work that way. The perfect time is a myth created by fear to keep you stuck. The real ones, the successful ones, the fulfilled ones, they didn't wait until everything made sense. They moved when it didn't. You can't afford to sit back and wait for clarity when action is what brings clarity. You have to jump into the unknown. You have to take the first step without seeing the whole staircase. Every successful person you admire once stood where you are, uncertain and scared, wondering if they were making the right move. But they made it anyway, not because they were sure it would work, but because they refused to stay stuck. They understood that progress begins when comfort ends. Waiting for the perfect time is often just a clever way of hiding procrastination behind preparation. You'll keep researching, keep planning, keep adjusting, but never doing. That's not growth, that's fear in disguise. You've got to break that cycle. Start messy. Start scared. Start with what you have where you are. Because you'll never have everything, but you always have enough to begin. And when you start, the rest starts showing up. The resources come, the connections happen, the answers arrive. But none of it moves until you do. There's magic in momentum. When you take a step, life meets you halfway. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. People show up who were watching in silence. Opportunities start appearing, not because they weren't there before, but because now you're moving in their direction. You create your luck through motion. But motion can't happen if you're paralyzed by perfection. And here's another thing. Waiting too long can cost you more than making a wrong move. Time doesn't stop for you to get ready. While you hesitate, someone else is building. While you plan, someone else is producing. While you delay, someone else is dominating. Life is happening either way. So you've got to ask yourself, do you want to watch it or live it? Do you want to be a spectator or a story? There's power in urgency, not panic, not desperation, but a sense of now. That voice inside you that says, this matter says, this is mine to do. And I'm not waiting any longer. That voice is trying to save your dream from dying in the waiting room. Listen to it. Respect it. Act on it. Because there will always be a reason to wait. But there are bigger reasons to start. Start with shaky hands. Start with questions. Start with flaws. Just don't wait. Because while you're waiting for perfect, someone out there is outworking your potential with far less. And they're going to win, not because they were more qualified, but because they showed up. They bet on themselves. They jumped before they were ready. So whatever that thing is you've been holding back on, do it. Launch the business. Write the book. Post the video, send the email, make the call. Stop overthinking and start doing. The perfect time won't come, but the right time, that's now. Look, Life doesn't hand you permission slips. Nobody is going to tap you on the shoulder and say, okay, now is your moment. You've got to declare it for yourself. You've got to decide that you're done waiting, done doubting, done delaying. Because while you're standing, still hoping for the ideal moment, time is still ticking, and the world keeps moving. The people who win aren't the ones who had it all figured out. They're the ones who moved anyway. They're the ones who walked into the storm, who built the plane on the way down, who risked looking foolish just to find their freedom. You've got everything you need inside of you to take the first step. Will it be messy? Yes. Will it be scary? Absolutely. But that's what makes it worth it. The growth is in the unknown. The reward is on the other side of risk. If you keep waiting, you'll wait your whole life. And one day you'll look back and realize that what you feared most wasn't failure. It was missing your moment. So don't let hesitation steal your future. Don't let almost started be the story you tell. You were made to move, to build, to shine. And that doesn't begin when everything is perfect. It begins when you decide, so stop waiting. Start now, because your dream is ready. It's just waiting on you.